Sometimes I wish I could create without having an audience, but I can't do that because this is what I want to do full time, and that's just how it be. Because how else am I going to make money without having an audience? I don't think you can do that, and if you can, someone please tell me. But anyways, so here I am making content and looking like a goober online. You always have to be cringy when you're doing things like this, and that's just part of the game. It definitely helps you develop some thick skin, that's for sure, because some people are pretty mean online because they're sitting behind that keyboard trying to rage bait you and troll you because, I mean, what else are you going to do with your time, right? However, sometimes I do wish I could make art, music, and clothing and all other stuff and all my other creations without having an audience because that would make my life so much easier and so much easier on my mental. But if I want to do this full time, then you have to put in the work, look like an idiot, fail a bunch of times, and kind of just get into it, right? Just get into the dirt and kind of show people that you really want to do this. It's just another necessity to have under your tool belt. However, if you do not need to have an audience and you want to keep this as a hobby, then I would say do not try and put in the effort. If you want to enjoy this, then actually enjoy your hobby and just kind of let it be like stress free. That's why people have hobbies, is because they're fun and you don't have to worry about monetization or anything. However, creativity basically consumes my mind. Like I think about it 24/7, and honestly, it's kind of annoying because I'll get ideas at like 3 in the morning, not being able to sleep, then I'll have to write it down in my notes app or something along those lines. However, if you don't want an audience, it's just much more peaceful. You don't have to worry about numbers, likes, comments, shares, monetization, and all the other parts that come with being a content creator. I mean, when you do first start creating, technically, you don't really have an audience because people aren't following you, people aren't subscribing to you. So I guess you could say I'm not really creating for an audience right now because I'm still trying to find one. I'm trying to find an audience that likes Yap channels and likes Pokemon. And I don't know, there's a bunch of Yap channels where they play COD and stuff like that. I don't have that accessibility right now because I don't have a console and I don't really play on my computer that much besides this because it was very easy to download and it was free. I do have a few followers here and they are commenting, which I really appreciate. If you are watching this, I hope you comment again. But yeah, it's not like I really have an audience, but this is for people who already have an audience or they think they need an audience. If you're not trying to monetize your hobbies, then you do not need to have an audience. But I feel the need to do so because I hate everything else in life. Well, I mean, I've hated every job that I've ever had because there's just so many better options, and I do not want to be that hamster in that wheel just constantly spinning and constantly spinning all the time. It's just not what I want to do with my life. I'd rather live how I want to live. And if I have to work a lot more by doing this and slowly getting an audience towards the end of the year or next year, then so be it. I like to think I have a support system, but sometimes I'm not so sure because I feel like random strangers are more supportive than friends and family, but it is what it is. Not all your friends are going to like what you like to make, or they want to make sure you're safe and you're comfortable. But sometimes there are strangers on the internet that are a bunch of trolls, and that's just how it is because it's the internet. I really do like this channel for the most part because I don't feel the need to really monetize this channel. It's more of like a journaling thing for me when I like kind of type out these things. And honestly, sometimes an audience kind of comes its way without you really recognizing it. And I kind of just make videos, talk about random topics, and play some Pokemon. I do enjoy the audience that I have and this little following with my team and seeing where it goes. And some people do comment about that, which is kind of nice. Hopefully, I'll be able to interact with them more as well. However, once you start creating for an audience, you start to feel this pressure for yourself because it feels like you have to create for people like all the time and you can't really be your full authentic self. If you are lucky though, people will come to you for your authentic self and what you make and stuff like that. So that's why I always say try not to be someone else on the internet when you're making content because I hate to break it to you, you can only wear a mask for so long. Personally, I find wearing a mask so exhausting. I don't understand how people do it for so long. I had an old coworker told me that he was like so used to like customer service because he used to work in the food industry, like being a server and stuff. And in that industry, you do have to put on a mask for I don't know for a very long time if you work doubles and stuff like that. And that's personally why I didn't like being a server because I couldn't do it. I can't really fake my facial expressions or like my voice inflections because I have a very monotone voice and that's just who I am. And I'm trying to get better at doing more voice inflections. Like I've been in sales and I've learned to talk to people and like move people through a sales funnel, but I just can't really wear a mask all the time. Like I personally love being alone all the time because I don't have to do that. So I can only pretend and lie for so long because I would rather just rip my skin off or like rip the skin off my face or something like that. With the creative process, you get to be your most authentic self. You can work on your craft without people watching over your shoulder the entire time if you don't have an audience. I don't feel the need to be watched all the time. So that's why I kind of do miss it, but it's just something I have to get over. The creative process takes a long time. If you're going to be an artist, an animator, anything along those lines, anything that involves creativity, it just takes a very long time because one, you have to learn everything, then you have to start experimenting, kind of find your own like niche, your own style, all that stuff. And you are going to mess up a lot and you're going to fail a lot. So, unless you're perfect, which I highly doubt you are, you're going to fail. And that's just the reality of things. The thing you have to do is just get back on up and just be like, okay, what can I do better? Kind of just look at like analytics or whatever you need to do, thumbnails, pacing, whatever it is you need to do. And mine, I probably just have to just keep grinding at this and then kind of figure this out. Maybe work on some voice inflections, which is all my managers would always tell me is that I'm too monotone, not very expressive. And it's just very hard for me because that's my authentic self. Something I learned is that people do like seeing the journey, but they only like seeing snippets of it. They don't really care too much about all the mistakes and stuff, which is kind of unfortunate because that's what makes creatives who they are. And people kind of just like the final product, but they don't like how long it really takes them. And it just takes years to get there. And there's so many mistakes that come along with it. Another thing I've noticed when I'm trying to create is that when I'm creating for an audience, I find it very difficult to get into a flow state because I'm so concerned about having to be entertaining and having to keep up with the audience instead of focusing on the task at hand. How am I supposed to get into a flow state when I'm just focused on so much other things? Like I just want to work on the painting. So or maybe whatever I want to work on. But it's just much easier for me to do voiceovers compared to doing things live or trying to speak on camera. I mean, the monotone thing has worked for Charlie, like Penguins or whatever, because he's been doing this since like what 2009. I just started making videos what like a month ago, and my goal is to hopefully hit 100 subscribers by the end of this month, which I think might be doable. I'm at 38 right now, I'm pretty sure. And I think if I made a video every day, then I think I might be able to get to 100 subscribers. But I'm not too sure because the algorithm's always weird on YouTube, and sometimes people subscribe, some people don't. And that's just what it is. Of course, I would like to get better at making content over time because that's just kind of the point of this. It's another process, another creative thing under the tool belt. I like to make content I like to make, kind of see where it goes. I have some ideas like right now, I'm a little bit all over the place on like my other content channels. Like this is the only channel that it's like very consistent because it's just a Yap channel and I'm just playing Pokemon. But on the other creative channels, I'm not very sure where I want to take the direction. I just want to kind of get better at making content and see how I can get better editing, see if I need to do very specific things or like script writing and all that stuff. That's kind of just the whole process of it, and that's just something you always have to learn. Of course, you can always like sit down and like study YouTube like Mr. Beast and do all that stuff. So at this point, I'm kind of just spitballing and throwing content at the walls, and hopefully it'll stick. And I'll probably just sit down and learn how to like do things and get better at stuff. And it also depends on the audience that you actually want to have. Like for Mr. Beast, for example, do you want a bunch of kids and like cocoa melon rotted brains? I personally don't want that. I want people who actually like my content for my content and where I'm just kind of speaking around, I don't know, random topics. And maybe you're just kind of listening to this when you're working on some other stuff. Like, I don't know. That's what I do when I listen to Yap channels. It's a process, and that's what makes it fun. Creativity does get boring if you don't branch out and you just become comfortable. I'd say if you're creating art, it is still worth creating even if no one sees it. Sometimes I make things and I'm like, honestly, this is garbage. And sometimes I put it to the side and maybe I'll work on it later and come back to it. And that's just sometimes how it works. Not everything is going to be a masterpiece. Not every video is going to be amazing and have the highest click rate and all that stuff, and every thumbnail is the best. But anyways, guys, we did beat the fifth gym on the last video, and we're heading to the sixth one. I'm going to catch another Pokemon for the team because I need someone who knows how to surf and is a water type, and hopefully they're going to be a good team member. But anyways, guys, I appreciate it. If you're interested, check out my creative endeavors in the descriptions, and here's another video if you want to check it out. And that's it. Okay, bye.